Hi everyone, I am so excited for our video today because we'll be talking about the new Keyaki traditions of Sonia G. Yay! I am so happy to have this, and once again a huge thank you to Sonia G and to Vitalish for sending this my way. I'm so grateful. Truly, thank you so much you guys. I truly appreciate it. Now, this brush set actually arrived a few days before my sunset cranes arrived, and this was actually drying when I unboxed this, and I said to myself, I think I should talk about this first while this is drying, and that's why I'm only about to do this now. And also, I think my schedule got a little bit hectic lately, so there's a little bit of some spacing going on between my vlogs, but I'm still very grateful that you guys are here with me. Okay, so of course for our video today we'll be talking about this. We'll have a try on, and then I'm going to try to see and incorporate some comparisons so that we can have an idea on how this would compare to other brushes in Sonia G's collection, or in other brushes from other Fude brands that I have with me. Okay, so what I want to do first is I'm just gonna flip my camera over and we'll talk about this set. Now, the full name of this set is actually called the Keyaki Kakishibu, and this is part of the Tradition series of Sonia G. Now, if you are a fan of Sonia G, you would have known that she released a holiday trio a few years ago, and it also has the same handle here, same matte ferrule, but we just have different in types of bristles that is used for the brush head. So I believe Sonia G is coming up with something that is related to this series, because I just saw a post that she made about this handle design. So I'm very excited for this, and let me just put this to the side first. Now, the Keyaki Kakishibu comes with 6 brushes, as you guys can see here, and the handle here is made of Keyaki wood, and it has a very nice, warm toned handle color here. It has a very nice red tinge to it, very beautiful. And of course, if you take a look at the stamping here on the handles, you can see the Sonia G logo here, which is located near the base of the handle, where it actually becomes a much more voluptuous shape. And then at the back of this is where you'll see the stamp for Japan, and also the names of the brushes, and also the stamping for Kumano Fude. So isn't that so beautiful, so amazing? And of course, the pièce de résistance of this set is actually the brush head here, wherein it is made of dyed Saikoho goat hairs, and the dye that is used is actually from the persimmon fruit. Hence the term Keyaki Kakishibu, because Kakishibu is the Japanese name for persimmon. Now, mind you, I know this set retails to be a little bit expensive, but you have to understand that all of this is made by hand, the handle, and most especially the dyeing technique used in actually adding this very nice dusky hue to each of the brush heads here. It's all done by hand, and it's all done by one artisan. So that's also one thing that we have to appreciate, because this is a very painstaking brush set to actually make. So what we have here are 6 very beautiful eyeshadow brushes, and this is called the T1, and this I believe is supposed to be a smudger brush of sorts, and I'm sure you guys can see that with the brush head design here. We can see, as I'm just playing my fingers on the brush head, it's actually keeping its shape very nicely. It feels very soft and very silky. Very nice strength at the core of the belly here, and there's no prickling sensation at the tips of the bristles. Very nice. Okay, the next brush that we have here, this is the T2 brush, and this is like a builder brush of sorts. Very nice fullness at the belly here. As you guys can see, the shape also keeps very well, which is actually great. Nice snap back into position. Very nice and smooth sensation on the fingertips. But now that I'm doing this, I can feel some strength in the tips of this where it's actually dyed. It's actually quite amazing. Very nice. Okay, the next brush that I have here, this is called the T3 brush, and this one is like a blending or a crease brush of sorts. Very nice fullness at the belly here, because look at that snap back. Very strong brush head. Again, still feels very silky, very soft. And then I'm just tapping it here on my palms. There is a strength at the core of the belly of the brush here, right in the middle, which is actually perfect to use when you're applying color in the crease area of the eye. So I'm sure this will add them very nice soft definition on the eyes, which is of course a very trademark type of application technique of all of Sonia G's brushes. Okay, and the next brush that I have here is the T4 brush. Now this one looks to be like a blending brush of sorts, which is actually nice, but as you guys can see here, the design is not dome, well, just a little, but it's also like a little bit flat at the top. It's not as round as the other blending brushes that we're actually used to, so that's actually very interesting to see. So I'm sure this can also be great for packing in the outer corners. Nice strength at the core here, very nice even pressure that this brush head actually maintains and delivers on the eye, so it feels very comfortable. I have to say, very nice. I love that. And then the next brush that I have here, this is the T5 brush, and this one has a flat and paddle-like design, so it looks like it's a very nice worker type of brush wherein you can use to actually lay down and to buff out products on the eyes. Again, very nice and very soft, feels very silky and smooth. Okay, there's strength at the belly here, but as you guys can see, it's not so full, but it's very airy at the tips. Ooh, and I can feel like a strength in the core here in the middle of the brush. Very nice. I love that. This is a very interesting brush. And finally, we have here the T6 brush, and this one is the one that has the arched ferrule again. It is flat, paddle-like, and the bristles here at the top are actually quite airy, but it kind of like tapers into like a nice flat point here. I don't know if you guys can understand what I mean. Can you guys see that? If I just press it here on the side, look at that. So it's just like you're having two T5 brushes side by side into one brush like this. And it's a very interesting brush, very strong core here, very full, very nice snap back into position. So it's giving you strength here, which I'm sure you can use this brush for adding color, patting in color, building in color, and also buffing out color. And very nice airiness at the sides here can also enable you to blend out products on the eye. So very, very beautiful brush set. So let me just all line them up together here so that we guys can see the 6 brushes on this set. Beautiful, right? And I love that the sizes of this are actually very diverse, and we have a lot of these blending brushes in the set. And the main reason why I'm saying that is because I was actually gifted the Koyudo Kakishibuzome brushes, and I'm gonna put that here, so I'm sure you guys can see the similarities now, especially the color of the brush heads here. Now, as I've said in my review for this brush set from Koyudo, I actually wished that they created brushes wherein you had more blending brushes to add in your collection, because it's going to be a very robust type of collection if they do decide to have some. And I do have to say that Sonia G actually has beaten them to it. So if I just lay all of the 6 brushes here, and I include these 3 eyeshadow brushes from the Koyudo Kakishibuzome set, it's actually a very interesting set to have together, because you have these flat eyeshadow brushes that you can use as laying down brushes for the eyes, and also for adding some detailing work in the outer portions, which is very interesting. Because if I get the other let's say builder brushes, or lay down brushes from this set of Sonia G, and I put them all together, okay, not this one, they actually work very well together. So you have very different sizes, although these 2 brushes here, they look almost the same. They're very, very similar, but the Kakishibuzome brush here from Koyudo is just a little bit wider than Sonia's brush. And also the tips here, we can see that Sonia's Keyaki Kakishibu brush here is actually like, it has more density in the belly than this brush here from Koyudo. Very nice. I love it. I love it. Okay, what else is here? So are these two brushes similar? No, they are not. But I guess you guys can see, like, the difference. Okay, so let me put these brushes now to the side here. Now this brush here, the T6, is actually very similar to the arched worker from the Sunset Crane set of Sonia G, but they just bloom differently here at the tips of the bristles. And of course, the bristle types are very different because this one is made of gray squirrel, this one is made with dyed Saikoho goat hair. But you guys can see, where the similarity lies between these two brushes. Now, this brush, the T1 brush, is a smudger brush. Now, I don't have anything similar to this in Sonia's line, but to get one of the brushes from the Sunset Cranes. So again, we have these two smudger brushes. Look at that. The lengths are very different, wherein the length of the Sunset Crane here is longer, but we still see that it kind of like tapers into a tip here, but this one has a much more airier tip than this one, so this will give you a much more precise application, while this one also precise, but for sure it's going to be softer on the eyelid. Now the brush head length of this is actually very similar to other smudger brushes in the market. So this is from Chikuhodo, the R-SL4, one of my most used brushes as well, but just again a very slight difference in the brush head design, wherein the Chikuhodo here is actually rounder, while this one is like almost square and flatter. So again, this brush will give you more ability to become quite defined in applying eyeshadow on the eyes. Now this one, so again, this is a builder brush, a very typical builder brush from Sonia. Very nice shape. I think I might fall in love with this. Now, this is from the Holiday Trio, so it's very different. This is the S2 brush. It's just longer, but this one, it almost acts like a worker brush. So let me get another worker brush, which is the T5 brush here. Again, if you pair these three brushes together, it will give you different, intensity, also different type of, eyeshadow application design. Very interesting. Look at that. So it's a very typical builder brush, also very nice lay down brush. So this is actually the soft shader. If we just put them here together, we can see that there's a difference in intensity here, but again, both are very, very soft. Very nice. Okay, now let's put this here. Okay, so the T5 again here, again very nice, worker type of a brush. Nice flat and round brush head design, very airy. Now this actually reminds me of the Fude Beauty Chikuhodo collaboration brush. This is the S01 brush. This is made of Saikoho and Weasel mix. So you have that flat design again, and you have that airiness here at the tips. Very interesting, very similar. Okay, so what else? I initially thought when I saw this, it kind of reminded me of the Poladorf eyeshadow brush, but it actually is not. This one is actually smaller. But you guys can see the fullness of the belly here and the way that it tapers. So it's not so airy here at the tips, unlike this one. Okay, so that's it. So what else do I have here? Okay, so this is the T3 brush. Now the T3 brush, again, very similar to the S3 brush from the Holidays Trio that was released by Sonia before. Love this. I'm so excited to try this out. Okay, so this one is the blending brush. And I initially thought that it was similar to the Hakuhodo J146. But again, it's very different, because this one again has a much more flatter type of airiness here at the tips of the bristles, while this one is actually rounder. Okay, now I know you guys are asking what's the main difference between the Keyaki Kakishibu with her other recently released brushes as well, her Fundamental Eye series. I'm just gonna put them here side by side. so you guys can see it. Of course, as you guys can see, the handles are very different because the fundamental series, the new one, we are using walnut handles here, but we still have the same matte ferrules. And of course, we still have like, goat hair fibers here. But the main difference is that there are only two goat hair bristle brushes here that are actually dyed, while the rest of the brushes in the fundamental series are actually like, undyed here. And if we're just going to put them side by side, and so I'm going to put, like, let's say the worker brushes together, and then I'm going to put the builder brushes together, the layer brushes, and then this is a pencil brush. I'm going to put this to the side here. A lot of the blending brushes as well. It's going to be here. Okay. Now, these brushes are going to be in the permanent collection of Sonia G. And as you guys can see right now, even if there are like, similar sizes, not all of them actually have the same brush head size and also length. So, which is actually great because it just allows us to like, add different intensities of eyeshadows. So these are the like, worker type of brushes. And then these are the blending brushes and the crease brushes as well. Look at that, very nice. Now these two, they almost look similar. The crease M here has a much more like, rounded brush head shape, while this brush here, the T4 brush from the Keyaki Kakishibu, is like, a little bit flatter. I think this brush will give you like a nice packing ability into the crease as well. Now these two brushes, they're also like, blending and crease brushes, but this one has a much more rounder and airier bristle here at the tips, while this one is more like oval. And we have the builder brushes here. So I consider the smudger brush here, this is the T1 from the Keyaki Kakishibu. I consider this also to be a builder brush because you can use this to pack eyeshadow colors into the eyes, not only on the lash line. So as you guys can see, different shapes, different width, and also different length. So again, this will help you to have like, different types of intensity. And of course, like, if you have smaller eyelids, you can use like this brush here. This is the Builder S brush. If you want to add more detailing, outer V. If you want to add a much more like, more intensity of color in a much more wider space, you either use the T2 here, or you can use the Builder M, which is actually this one. Okay, fantastic. And oops, sorry. And these are the pencil brushes from the Fundamental series. Now, one thing I do have to say though is that now that I'm seeing all of these brushes lined up together, now what to me is so fantastic is that the series of Sonia G, if you intermix them together, you can actually use them now for like, cream and powder eyeshadow products, except for maybe these two. So let me put this to the side. And I kind of like that because these brushes right now will give you the ability to work with different kinds of formulas and of course different kinds of intensities, which makes the current series of brushes of Sonia G to be very, very versatile. And I love that so much because like, the formulas now of eyeshadow are changing, they're becoming creamier, and we need like, brushes that can actually adapt to the changes in eyeshadow formulas. If you add the Pro and the Sky series to the mix, like the entire brush line now of Sonia G is actually very diverse and it's also very versatile because you don't have any doubles now, and you also have different shapes of brush head, different like, level of intensity in the bristles that's packed into the brush head, also different lengths, so you can actually like, use them together to create the kind of eye look that you want, especially for someone like me who's professional. Like, this just gives me more versatility now that I have all of these brushes together, and it's a very well thought of like, brush line. The crease brushes complement each other, the builder brushes complement each other, and even like, the buffing brushes, they complement each other, and even like, the pencil brushes here, they also like, work very well together. I really love that because now we have a very robust eyeshadow brush collection, and it can really help you to create defined yet soft makeup looks, which is like, trademark of Sonia G Brushes. Alright, so now it's time for us to try these brushes out, but before that, I'm going to put on some foundation, maybe some concealer, and some maybe powder, because I'm feeling a little bit tired today and I just want to look nice and also feel nice, okay? So I'm just going to zoom through the process as per usual, okay? some foundation down, some finishing powder, concealer, and I feel so much better. And this brush, by the way, is also made of Kakishibu, but this is from Koyudo, and this is their Kakishibuzome powder brush. Now, I have also talked about this before, so if you're interested to know more about these brushes, I'm going to put the link down on the description box. Okay? Alright, so let us begin and try out these brushes now. And I don't have, again, any specific eyeshadow application or look that I'm going for, but let's try and use all of these. So I'm going to start by using this brush first, and this is the T1 brush. Now, of course, as you guys can see with the brush head here, it is best to use for smudging in your upper lash line, but you can also use this if you want to add some highlight in this area, if you want to be very specific with it. So let me try and use this brush here, and as you guys can see, if you want to be very precise with your highlighter application, you can also use this. So it's like a builder type of a eyeshadow brush also at the same time. Okay, look at that, very smooth, very even, nice coverage, and it's working very well with this Baked Gelée formula of Chanel. Okay, this is in the color Tissé Rivoli 228. Okay, look at that. Okay, so now let us try and use this brush. Now, I have seen some people use this to apply nose contour. So let us try that, because I'm actually very curious before we actually use this for eyeshadow application. And I would understand why they would use this for such, because of the very airy nature of this brush, but in my head I'm not too sure about that, because as I've shown you guys in the close-ups, the tips here, although on the side it kind of flares out and it airs out a little bit, there is some very nice strong resistance of the core of the brush head here, located at the very tip, or at the middle of the brush. So anyway, so let me use this color. This is from Viseart, their highlight and contour palette, and let me just lightly dab it. Okay, you won't see it first because this is the lightest shade on the palette, but I can already see that it's actually applying a very strong amount of color into the nose line area, and I believe it does the job. But again, just be very sure of the placement of the brush head if you're going to be using this for nose contour. Try to apply the very tip of the brush here as close to the bone of your nose, because this is where you'll get a lot of the product on the brush head. Okay, that kind of works. I love that. That was a surprise. And let me just buff everything out just to make everything softer. Now, I'm actually very surprised on how versatile this brush shape is, because when I first saw this with the Sunset Crane's brush head, of course, because they're very, very similar, I said it might just be too big. But sometimes there are some brushes that can really surprise you, and they can be quite versatile, and that's what I love about this brush head shape. Okay, look at that. My nose is softly enhanced, and I'm actually quite scared to add more color, but let's go there because we're testing out this brush. So I have a little bit of the medium shade here on the tip, and let me just add it here. So I'm just using a tapping motion, and I think you guys can see already that the tip of the brush here has applied the color. So let me just buff everything out. Okay, that did apply the nose contour quite in a very big sense. So let me just buff the brush head here on a microfiber towel, because I want to soften this nose contour some more. Okay, so that really did the job. I like that. I was happy with that development. And of course, for sure, you can use this to apply highlighter, which we'll be doing now. So let me get this color here. Picks up the product quite nicely. And this brush head can really help you to apply the color in a very a specific area of your cheeks. And because it's a very nice strong bristles, nice bundle, you're actually able to buff it out. Very nice. Okay, so again, just be very careful with how much product you pick up, and always build slowly. Not bad. I like that. Nice, precise color application using this brush. So as actually stated on Sonia G's blog post, you can actually use these brushes for cream products, not only powder, so which is actually great because I love using liquid eyeshadows, cream eyeshadows, things like that. So that's what we'll be doing now. Let's add a nice base color here on this eye, and I'm going to be using my Chanel liquid eyeshadow here. Now I'm just going to buff every excess powder from the brush head here on the microfiber towel. And then I'm going to pick up the eyeshadow with this brush, the T6 brush. And I'm just going to buff the color all over the eyelid. Now that I'm doing this, I could say that the brush head actually fits quite nicely on my eyelid. And it actually buffs in the color quite nicely. And you can do it flat, in a flat manner like this. Or it can even use the tips of the bristles here, and you can actually insert the tip there, and you can actually apply the liquid eyeshadow into your crease and your socket line, and then you can just buff it out, especially if you hold it at an angle. That's what's so nice about this brush, this design of a brush head, because you can actually use this for one and done eyeshadow looks. Again, nice blending, nice diffusion of color, especially here in the brow bone area, and then very nice even distribution of pigment. I like that. Now, since this brush head is actually quite big, you might have problems with adding detailing work, especially here in the outer V portions of the eyes. But then again, we have other brushes that can do that for us. Okay, so this is the T6, and I loved how it actually worked with us today, especially with liquid eyeshadows. How cool is that? Alright, so now it's time for us to try the T2 brush, and this is like a builder brush, and let us build some color into the eyelid. So I'm using this very nice bright pink color here. So I'm just rubbing it generously into the pan here, and it picks up a very good amount of pigment. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to pat the color here all over my eyelid. Okay, so we have a nice laydown of color here on my eyelid. So the pink is already coming through, and we can already see some of the gold shimmer of this shade also popping out. And what I like about this brush is that it's actually very small enough that you can also add detailing work here in the outer V area of the eyes. Now mind you guys, I'm not using any eye base, and so far so good. I am not seeing any fallout here on my upper cheeks. None at all. And if you're looking for smaller type of a brush head size, you can always get the new fundamentals from Sonia G. This is the Builder S brush, and you can also use this for much more targeted application of more intense color on the eyes. But so far, I actually love this size. It's actually perfect. Look at that. I'm able to be very specific with my color laydown and also blending. I love that. I love this. Very, very nice. Okay, so let's continue now. And we have the T3 brush here, and let us try and add more definition into the socket line. So I'm going to use this shade here, and I'm just going to brush the brush head ever so generously here on the pan. And I am sure you guys can see the color already here on the tips because it has blended with the color of the dye of the Kakishibu, the persimmon. And I'm just going to lightly press the brush head here into my socket line area. Now what I love about this shape is that it's quite oval, and it's not as pointy as most crease brushes that I have in my collection. So it will add a very nice blend of color already. Very soft color application, but we can also see that it's also adding a nice hint of definition on the socket line area. I love that. And I also love that if you just press ever so lightly and you're applying the eyeshadow in one direction, I'm sure you guys can see that the brush head already encompasses more the area of my brow bone here, and that just really helps to change the shape of my eye and blend out the color in no time. Look at that. Very nice. Again, it fits perfectly. I love this brush. Very, very nice. Again, it works very well. And so far, no fallout is happening here on my upper cheeks. Okay, so let me get the, what is this? The T1 brush. And I'm just going to pick up the same shade here. And this is what I'm going to use to add more, like, definition here in the outer V portion. Because that's usually where, these big, fluffy eyeshadow brushes, miss the mark. And it is where these, smaller brush heads come into play. Okay, and I'm going to move my head and I'm going to add some of that eyeshadow color here into my lower lash line. And I'm just going to buff that out. Try to create a nice flick. Brush off the excess here at the microfiber towel. And then I'm going to use that to blend the colors into my crease and socket line and brow bone area. Okay, so I am happy with the shape that's going on. That's actually perfect. And again, just buff everything out and blend in an upward motion. Okay, so now let's try the T4. So this one has a much more smaller brush head, and you have a much more dome type of brush head here. And again, when I'm just tapping my fingers, it feels very strong. So if you want to intensify, let's try to see if this will do the trick. So I'm just going to apply some of the color here in the outer V portion again of my upper eyelids here in the outer corners. I beg your pardon. And we have more intense color now. I love that. Then let me get the T3 brush and let me just blend everything out again. Blending is always the key. And I always like to add more color at this part of my eyelid. So I'm just using the brush for this. This is the T4 brush. It's going to take a while for me to memorize the names of these brushes because I find that if I add some shadow there, it just really helps to lift my eye and just to give it shape and definition. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some eyeliner pencil and I'm just going to line my upper lash line with this. Okay, and I'm going to be using the T1 for us, and I'm just going to try to see if this is actually strong enough to smudge eyeliner pencils to soften the edges, which I'm sure is going to be a no-brainer because we can already see that the line here is actually softening. And one thing, by the way, I do have to say that again, the brush head is very, very soft. It doesn't feel sensitive. When you're really rubbing it into your in between your lashes, which again is so amazing. As you guys can see, my eyeliner is now softer in application. So let's just continue to blend everything and try to create a nice lift. Very nice. And whatever excess is left here on the brush head, I'm just gonna apply it here on the outer corners of my lower lash line. Fantastic, look at that nice soft color application, very well blended, and we have that very nice soft definition of color. Ooh, I love how these brushes worked with me today. So now it's time for us to try and use the T5. Now the T5 for me looks to be like a worker type of a brush wherein you have this flat and paddle-like design, right? So what I'm gonna do now is let me just maybe pick up what color do you guys think? So let me try this shade here. This is from the Tissé Cambon Chanel Quad. And I'm just rubbing the brush here on the pan. And I'm going to use this brush in applying a one and done eyeshadow kind of a look. Yeah, I'm just pressing it lightly. And I'm being careful with on how much I press the brush into my eyes because it has a lot of shimmer. And I am scared of getting some fallout. But that will always happen when you're playing with eyeshadows and you're trying to buff it in because the brush will actually flick out the glitters that's found on the eyeshadow formula. Okay, I'm just running the brush tips here into my socket line very gently. Then create a nice lift. I can already see some fallout, but that's not the brush's fault. And as you guys can see, it was very simple, nice one and done eyeshadow. What do you guys think? Do you guys approve? Very nice. So if you want to create a much more smokier eye, I think you can actually use this. So let's do that now. Let me just add some soft definition because we're already here anyway. So I am getting a matte formula of an eyeshadow now. And let me get this eyeshadow first. This is now from the Clair Obscure palette of Chanel. And maybe pick up a little bit of this. And I'm going to tap the excess here at the back of my hand. And I'm just going to press ever so slightly here in the outer V area of my upper eyelid, and I'm just gonna blend that into my socket line. Now that I'm doing this, I've just realized that the airiness of this is almost quite similar to the airiness of this brush, but it's just different in sizes. Okay, and also if you take a look here on the side, they're both very fluffy here at the tips, so they're actually quite good in buffing out and blending colors. That's fantastic. I love how these brushes actually hold on to the pigments very nicely, and how they actually spread it out. And in this portion I didn't get a lot of fallout, and I do have to say the reason why is because there are a lot of binders on the pigments of these eyeshadows. But this particular eyeshadow color, this one doesn't have so much binders, because even here on the pan you can see that I have already flicked out some glitter, and that is again a testament on how strong the brush head is of this brush. So again, just very, very careful. And I'm actually loving that we're doing this activity together, because it kind of the brushes are kind of introducing themselves to us, and it will give us an idea on how you can actually use it. Fantastic. Okay, so let me just add some more definition on this eye, and I'm going to be using more matte eyeshadows now. So let me use this T1 brush. Love this brush. Tap off the excess, and then I'm just going to pat the color here on my upper lash line. Again, you guys can see how softly defined it is. And mind you, this is one of the deepest shades of this palette from Chanel. Look at the color, very nice, neutral, gray-brown color. Look at that, it's very easy to actually apply and to blend out eyeshadows using this brush here on the lash line. So let me just intensify it just a little bit more. Let me continue to build color. That's what I love about Sonia G's brushes, is that it allows you to build the color to the intensity that you want and to the intensity that you actually need. And maybe let us try and use this brush. This is a very nice blending brush. And when I say blending, is that if you have edges here on your eyeshadow and you just want to blend it out further, this is the type of brush head that you need. So you just pick up a little bit of that, then tap off the excess at the back of your hand, and then just at the very edges of the eyeshadow that you applied, you just run the brush through it, and this actually blends the colors quite nicely, and you're also able to buff it out at the same time. And let me get the T2 here, the builder brush, and let's just build more intensity out the outer V portion of the eye here. And I'm going to be using these two colors, and I'm just going to tap it ever so lightly here, and then let me just create a very soft flick here, because that will really help with my eye shape. And let me just press it so lightly and then blend that into my crease and socket line area. Fantastic, look at that. So yes, I believe that's it. We have come to the end of my vlog, and that is how I have gotten to know the new Keyaki Kakishibu from Sonia G. It's actually a great set, and I am actually very excited for her, because it seems that she is revamping her brush line this year, and there are a lot of changes going on, and this is a very exciting time, especially for us who are fans of Sonia G, and I'm sure we have a lot of things to look out for from her, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Okay, yeah, so that's it from me today. So if you guys have any more questions about all the products that I used today, or like these Kakishibu brushes from Sonia G, please let me know down in the comments box and let's have a conversation about it. Okay, and if you do happen to have this already, please let me know what's your favorite brush and how you use it, and maybe I can also learn something from you. Okay, yeah, so that's it. I'm gonna let you guys go now. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope that you're having a good day wherever you are. Bye.